listening to Black Fawn Distro's Takeover Tuesday, the official podcast of Black Fawn Distribution, broadcasting live across the planet and retransmitted on all major streaming platforms. Tonight's program is brought to you in part by Wellington Brewery's Hellas Lager, Deadly Grounds Coffee, Twisted Teas, and of course Canada's #1 genre film company, Black Fawn Distribution. You wanted the best. Well, they didn't make it, so here's what you get.
It's really not that bad.
You weren't going that far.
Here's your host, Benner from Black Fawn Distro.
All right, everyone. How you doing? It's Benner from Black Fawn Distro, and welcome back to another edition of Takeover Tuesday. We've got a great program for you tonight. I'm super stoked to have Chantelle Han in the studio with us. She's going to be joining us a little bit later, but she is in the green room right now, so she's listening to the program, and I think she's going to give me a thumbs up. You're still there, Chantelle? I think I see you in the... Yes, there she is. So that's amazing, and we've got her on deck, which is great. We're going to talk a lot about the new film that she actually just recently finished, and it's going to premiere this Friday at Blood in the Snow Film Festival, which is the new film Peppergrass. So we're going to talk to Chantelle about a whole list of things regarding the movie and getting into sort of what it was like shooting during a pandemic, during a lockdown, in the cold, and against the elements and that sort of stuff. So lots to get into. So make sure you stick around. First and foremost, I just want to quickly shout out to our sponsors. We didn't get a chance to do this at the start of last week's episode, so I wanted to kind of make some time here just to give everyone a quick shout out. But obviously, Wellington Brewery, Hellas Lager, they sponsor us when we're on the road, as well as when we're in lockdown or in quarantine. They do keep us going. So a big shout out to them. And also a big shout out to Deadly Grounds Coffee. We just actually partnered up with them a little while ago into making our own brand of Black Fawn Distro coffee. So it's called Appetite for Caffeination, Sweet Toffee O' Mine, little Guns N' Roses homage there, but big shout out to Deadly Grounds Coffee. If you're looking for coffee for a gift or anything like that, you can obviously pick it up in our online store at blackfawndistribution.com. And also, you know, if you're doing that, it's a perfect gift for somebody that doesn't like horror and still wants to support. You're actually supporting two small businesses, both ourselves and Deadly Grounds Coffee. And last but not least, big shout out to Twisted Teas. They actually make all of our merchandise as well, so which you can check out again in our online store. But big shout out to them. They've been a big supporter of ours for a long time, and we look forward to working with them for a long time in the future as well. Now, as you may have noticed, that if this is your first time tuning into the new format of the show, we've got a brand new kick-ass theme song, which was made and written, produced, mixed, mastered, and everything by our good friend of the program, Derek Princecox. You can check out Derek's stuff at The Walk Show. I'll throw it up on the banner a little bit later on, but check out his podcast too. He runs a podcast called The Walk Show, and it's really, really great interview series with a variety of people invested into the independent music scene, really in-depth interviews, and definitely worth a look and a listen, of course, if you're looking for a new music and getting into some stuff maybe that you haven't heard before. So big shout out to Walk. Thanks, Walk, for the awesome music. And of course, we are running a bit of a contest now. If you have an idea of what that song should be called, please let us know. So drop us a line on Instagram, throw a comment in on the comment section during the broadcast. And also you can always shoot us a line on any of our social media platforms. Let us know what you think the song should be called. And if we pick you, that's what the song will be called forever. You'll win, and we'll send you some stuff in the mail. Okay. So the intro track will be on our YouTube page, so you can check it out there. Make sure you subscribe. And of course, on any of the platforms that you're listening to on, you can please, you can obviously follow, share, and subscribe. It would help us out. And of course, help out the guests that we have on the program as well. So anyway, getting to we got a lot to talk about tonight, so I want to get into a whole bunch of stuff. So let's not waste any more time. Let's hit the news.
Top story. Top story. We'll give you the world. We'll give you the world. This may be the most important decision of your life. Can't stand the heat. Get out of the kitchen. watching at home? You can't stand the heat. Get out of the kitchen.
Top story.
And remember, we care. We care.
There are certain inherent risks that come with the territory.
Top story. Top story.
We'll give you the word.
Top story.
All right, and this is the news. Welcome back to another edition of Black Fawn Distro's Takeover Tuesday, and we have a couple of top stories for you. And one, believe it or not, is the fact that Black Fawn Distro has actually acquired the rights to Peppergrass, the new gothic thriller. We've just picked up the rights for Canada, and of course, the film is actually having its Canadian premiere this Friday, November 19th at 9:30 p.m. as part of the Blood in the Snow Film Festival lineup. So really excited for that, but we anticipate a release of the film in early 2022, and there should be we're not quite sure on all the platforms yet, but that information is coming, and of course some information about the US release as well will be coming. So if you're looking for information on that, make sure you check out our socials, and we'll be able to keep you guys in the loop. Now, speaking of which, Peppergrass, like I just said, premiering this Friday, November 19th. If you haven't got tickets yet, please get them. You can actually go to bloodinthesnow.ca and pick up any of the tickets that you need for Peppergrass or any of the other great films that are playing this incredible festival. Blood in the Snow Film Festival is actually all Canadian film festival. They're having in-person screenings at the Royal in Toronto on College Street. So make sure you come out, check out, support some feature films, and there's also some kick-ass shorts programs there. They're a hit every year. Make sure you kind of pop out and see something. It's great to get back to the theaters again. It's great to get back to seeing some independent films, and of course, they are 100% nonprofit, and they do this. They do a really, really great job. So make sure you check them out. I'm going to throw up their logo here. That's what you're looking for, bloodinthesnow.ca. And you can get all your tickets there. And also, big shout out, just a special mention that our sister company, Black Fawn Films, is actually having an opening night film. Vicious Fun is actually going to have a theatrical premiere at Blood in the Snow Film Festival. It's Toronto theatrical premiere, and you'll be able to check that out as well on Thursday night at 8 p.m. So again, all the tickets are online. Make sure you check it out. So now moving on, we did this a couple of weeks ago. We decided to carry it on, and we wanted to give a big shout out to anyone that's doing a physical product, physical releases that we think, should just get a bit of a shout out. And my selection this week is this amazing edition of Donnie Darko. Just picked this up at Frightmare in the Falls from the fine people at Unobstructed View. But this release is absolutely amazing. It's ridiculously thick. And it's got, do a quick little unboxing here. You get both of the director's cut and the theatrical cut on 4K. And you also get this pretty sweet poster, and you get this amazing 100-page book, hardcover, as you can hear, built to last, as they say. Lots of really cool stills and some great interviews, essays, and commentary on the film as well. I just watched this the other night. It's fantastic. It's the best it's ever looked in 4K. Definitely worthwhile picking up. And of course, you can get this. It's courtesy of Arrow Video, of course. They actually put out the release. Arrow always does some really, really awesome stuff. There's a little view of the back there as well. Some really cool personalized artwork for the movie. But you can also go to unobstructedview.com and you can order it online there. So shout out to our friends over there. But hey, listen, if you're looking for a Christmas gift, Donnie Darko 4K collector's edition, make sure you check it out. Now, as I mentioned before, we've got a new segment that I just decided to add because why not? I figured we should probably just do something fun for this. So I've decided to carry on another edition of the fried chicken sandwich report, which is where I go and check out and eat a fried chicken sandwich and then tell you how good it is. And this week we did a couple of things. I went to a couple of different places. We tried the Tim Hortons chicken sandwich, 2.5 out of 5, maybe on a good day. Checked out the Wendy's classic chicken sandwich, 3 out of 5. It's basically just a regular chicken sandwich, with some extra pickles on it. Wasn't too impressed. And then our graphics guy, Mitch, kept going on about this Zinger Chick place. Zinger Chick this, Zinger Chick that. We got to check out Zinger Chick. You should go to Zinger Chick. It doesn't even sound like a real place, to be honest. But anyway, we he kept going on and on and on about it. So one lunch we packed up, we went on a road trip. We went to get Zinger Chick in Guelph. And I'm not lying. This is the place. Look, there's that's photo of it. It's actually called Zinger Chick. I love that little kind of like corner restaurant too. Kind of reminds me of the diner on Seinfeld. And they've got this cartoon chicken on the wall too, with their slogan, "Taste you'll never forget." I always like a good cartoon chicken, makes me laugh. But listen, this sandwich was actually really, really good. And here's a photo where, boom, me eating it. Look at the size of that sandwich. It's massive. It's almost the size of my head, and I have a ridiculously large head. So it was really, really good. Great sauce. I got it with cheese, nice bun, lots of chicken in there, and good value. $7, I think. I think the combo was 11, but the actual sandwich itself was $7. So Zinger Chick, shout out to Mitch for recommending this. It was a great, great road trip to get this sandwich. I will definitely be going back there again. Family-run business. Made it through the pandemic, and they do fried chicken, and they're great. So fantastic. Thanks, Zinger Chick. Appreciate it. We'll be back. Now, moving on, we've got, obviously, like I said, we've got Chantelle Han in the studio. She's live virtually. This is a live broadcast. We don't do any of that fancy editing or anything like this. So anything can happen. Live media, live television, live radio is where it's at, of course. So we are going to get to Chantelle in a second, but obviously she's an actress. She's a lead actress in Peppergrass, but she's also co-producer and co-director of the project as well. So she's got a lot going on, and she's got a whole bunch of stories to talk to us about filming the movie, like I said at the top of the hour. And of course, if you have a question or a comment or anything like that for Chantelle, if you're listening live, write your comments down or your questions or comments or thoughts or whatever in the comment section below on whatever platform you're listening to on. And we'll try and get them up on the screen during the broadcast. Okay. So right now we are broadcasting live to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. So if you're catching us on that, that's great. Throw your comments below. We'll try and get to them throughout the broadcast. And also, of course, if you missed this the first time around, not a problem. Hopefully you're listening to it on one of the other streaming platforms, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts and wherever else you get your favorite programs. So without further ado, let's not waste any more time. Before we've got Chantelle live on the other side. But before we get there, let's take a look at Peppergrass, and here's the trailer for the film.
Mother Nature shakes her hide. We all fly off in the spray.
I want to get caught in here without a mask, Eula. How'd you do today?
$40.
I don't see how we're going to make the first.
And the pandemic is up there now.
It might be better for us if this guy's dead. And 20 hours each way, give or take? Yeah, I'll just hope we make it.
$10K a kilo some years. Anyone who finds white truffles never says where. I wouldn't. It's worth a fortune. We were just wondering if you knew where the road to Ruben Lum's property is.
He likes to be left to himself.
I remember Captain Ruben, though. He was disfigured or something.
Maybe he'll just give them to us, and we won't have to steal anything.
Good old Ruben's got a bunker full of old rifles from the war. Trunks of cartridges. All of it. And this is what he does.
You know, we were kind of hoping to get some of the truffles that you used to give her grandfather.
Morris, what are you doing?
Shut up! Give us the white one!
Sport coat and a pink carnation. I'm all dressed up for the dance. A white sport coat and a pink carnation. I'm all alone.
Holy shit.
Oh,
Holy
my God.
shit. Is that his pig?
I guess so.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay, and we're back live with Chantelle Han. That was a first glance at our first look at Peppergrass. That's the new trailer for the film. It's actually premiering, having its Canadian premiere this Friday, November 19th at the Blood and Snow Film Festival at the Royal in Toronto on College Street. Chantelle, how are you? How you doing? Thanks for joining us. How you been?
Hi. Thanks for having me, Benner. I'm doing great.
No problem. Welcome to the program. I know this is all kind of it's very, very it's run and gun. That's what we do here. So thanks for being such a good sport and joining us. It's not listen, thanks for taking the time. I know things are super busy this week. You've got the premiere on Friday. Things are going full tilt. But tell us where you are with how excited. I mean, how excited are you to see the film sort of screen in front of people in basically one of your hometowns? At least we'll get to that a little later. But how you feeling?
Yeah, it feels great. I mean, we did have our first world premiere in Columbus, but it was just me, Stephen, Grant, and Philip, and a bunch of Americans that we didn't know. So to be able to screen it with our friends and our family and people who actually had a part in making the film, it's really special. Yeah. And I can't wait. I hope everyone likes it.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's a fantastic film. Really, it's beautifully shot. It's definitely got this dark atmosphere to it. I think people are really going to like it. There is sort of I think there's a whole sort of, there's a certain group of filmmakers of film goers that really like these styles of films. And it does have this sort of, mysteriousness about it, of how it was shot. And for that, you guys shot this during a pandemic, during a lockdown. We'll get to that in a second, but can you give us a sense as to how the project kind of came to fruition, and where did it start and how did it get to camera, I guess, before you ran into all the other fun stuff later on down the road?
Yeah. Well, Stephen, Grant, and I got together to actually work on a different project. So when COVID hit, that put a wrench in things. I can't talk too much about that, but it involved a lot more interior locations that just were not feasible during COVID. Bigger casts, lots of other places that we needed to shoot. So I guess at that point, and Stephen will probably correct me, but we had to pivot. We wanted to shoot something anyways. So what could we have done? And I think he had the idea for this for quite some time, but hadn't written a full script for it. So he wrote this, we shot it, edited it. It was in its first festival, all within a year. So as soon as he had this new script, he was like, "Hey, can you be in it?" And then there was lots of kind of tumult going up to that too, because I had been booked on another project that was halted because of COVID.
Right.
And the scheduling maybe wasn't going to line up. I literally wrapped shooting that thing on the Friday. And then I think we were going to start on Monday or Tuesday. Like I had to fly back to Ontario. So it was really close. Like I almost wasn't in it at all, but yeah, we got it done.
And then you went into, you go into production, you've got everything kind of set up. Here we go. It's a lockdown. It's during a global pandemic. And what's funny as well is that this is affecting everyone across the planet. It's not just one particular community or one particular place on the map. So you have to shoot. Like that's crazy, right? Like, I mean, I know I've talked to Stephen here and there about the film and about kind of some of the challenges. But from your perspective, like, what were the challenges that you guys faced when you were going into production and then during production? I see the look on your face right now, being like, where do I start? But I mean, let's laugh about it now, because I mean, the film has turned out so great and it's finished. It's in the can. It's having its premiere. We're good. But during it, let's talk.
Ooh. Yeah. So I think a big part of what made filming Peppergrass possible versus the other project was most of it was filmed outdoors. So we were really at the mercy of whatever the weather was like at the time. And there were some days where it was like 17 degrees in Aurelia, and other days it was freezing cold, like our first few nights with the pig. So that was pretty challenging. Most of the crew was outside the entire time. I was pretty lucky. Some nights I just hung out in the car in a sleeping bag. But it had rained a bunch before we started filming too. So even just getting to the location, which is this beautiful barn property beside the lake, it's a dirt road, like with just enough space cleared through the trees to get a truck through. And we had to get some gravel in there. Otherwise, there was just no way we could even get to set. Like we would just be totally swamped. There's that. This pig. You just can't get animals to do anything you want them to do. It was very challenging. It worked out great, but Hector was pretty difficult to control. All of those things, it's during COVID, although I'll maintain that being on set is felt like the safest place to be. But also kind of odd because we were just coming from not seeing anybody for so long. And all of a sudden, there's 20 of us hanging out, making a movie in the forest.
Did anyone come and stop you, swing by the set being like, what are you crazy kids up to in the middle of the woods with a giant pig? Or
no, it was very remote. I think the only person that was a bit of like a COVID stickler, and we were being very safe. We all hung out together. We were just this one big pod, was our squib guy, Fabrizio. He was really, really adamant that everyone had their masks on at all times. And anyway, yeah, otherwise everything was cool. It was wonderful. It felt like a bit of a retreat. It was hard work, but we were all able to get out of the city and get some fresh air. So it was kind of nice.
And you mentioned one of your co-stars, which is Hector the pig, which is which I don't know why every pig name sounds hilarious. Like I knew it was, I remember I messaged you and I said, "Hey, just out of curiosity, what's the name of that pig?" And you're like, "Hector," and I was like, "Of course it is, right?" but let's talk about Hector. I mean, how does Hector come into? How does Hector get cast, and how was he with the rest of the crew in cast?
How did he get cast? I think Steven just picked the most menacing pig we could get and the heaviest and biggest one. And I think Hector's 900 pounds. He was huge. He comes up to maybe my waist. I guess that's how he gets cast. And he comes with 3 handlers. He needs to be wheeled in on a truck. He's so heavy and he needs to have a little ramp. So it's quite a production to have Hector on set. And we also had to have a little electric fence. So you couldn't see any of it, obviously, from the footage, but all around him, there's a 1.5 foot tall electric fence just to keep him in bounds.
Right. So,
it's a lot.
And he behaved himself for the most part, or he was a little challenging to work with? Because I know talking to Chad over the years, he said there's there's 3 things you're never supposed to film, right? Or work with, right? And that's water, animals, and children, because it's really hard to get them to do exactly what you're hoping they will do, because they all sort of have a mind of their own. But which is I can't imagine that Hector would be any different. But how did did you just throw a fish around or feed him to get him to do stuff, or how does that work?
He wasn't that interested in the fish, actually. His handlers had all. That's in
the trailer, right? Okay.
But what you didn't see are his people yelling Hector, Hector, Hector all the time, constantly, and just scooping his food onto the hood of the car, Steven's car, poor thing. He was just all of his bulk on the hood. Yeah, so anywhere we wanted him to be, they just had to kind of coax him with the food.
Yeah, it sounds like me. So that's
just same way you would treat a Benner. You would treat
you can pretty much get me to go into anywhere. You just leave a trail of treats or fried chicken sandwiches.
Sandwiches.
I'll get in there. So listen, just if anyone's tuning in, our audience right now, if you're tuning in live, please leave a comment or a question down below for either myself or Chantelle, of course, about Peppergrass, or any comments you'd like to make. We're going to dive into some talk about movies as well. Some really, really cool stuff coming up. But also I wanted to talk to you a little bit, just because we'd never really met until a couple of weeks ago. And not we met face to face on a Zoom call, right? But we've talked a couple of times since then, and I was fascinated to know and learn how you kind of got into movies, and sort of you have a really cool sort of story with that, because originally you came from theater, right?
Yeah. I I think it's mostly because no one cared about drama or like film and TV where I'm from in Calgary, Northeast Calgary. So when I was in high school, I was in a drama 10, 20, 30 split because so few students were interested in the drama club that they had to put like all 13 of us together. But yeah, I knew I wanted to be an actor since I was 4 years old. Watching Wayne's World, Tia Carrere was the first Asian woman who looked remotely like me who was doing that. And I was like, oh, that's a thing. Like that's something I can do. Like, why not? And I just adored her, and my brothers loved those movies. So we watched them all the time. And there really wasn't any other choice. Like if I don't do well at this, that's it. That's it for me, you know?
So then how did you make the decision to jump from the stage to the screen? Like, did that just come naturally? Was there some type of event that happened that just kind of got you into that? Or was that a conscious decision for you to go from one format to the other?
Growing up, I never went to see plays or anything like that. So I always thought, like, I guess the only thing you can do is be an actor on screen. But the only programs that were offered in Calgary were theater programs. And I just figured, like, sure, why not? But I wasn't really that interested in it. And once I really got into it, I loved it. And I got this really big break working on Kim's Convenience, the play, which is, as you know, a TV show. But before that, it was a play. And so I toured the country for a couple of years with that show. And it really just brought me so many opportunities, including moving to Toronto, meeting my agent here, who I'm still with. And I just kind of took whatever I could. But in theater school, all of my notes were like, oh, that would have been a nice scene for a movie. Like all of my performances were quite naturalistic and small, not really that fit for the screen or for the stage. And so I always knew, I think, that I was better suited at it. But as I started training, I love both. But between you and I, the money is not as good in theater. So that's kind of why I started focusing more on film and television.
Yeah. You mean you weren't making millions of dollars in the theater, in the theater game? No,
I'm not making it now either.
So do you miss it though? Like, do you miss performing in front of like live audiences and that sort of thing, as opposed, because it's a lot of actors and actresses talk about, even directors, like if they've done both, it is very, very different format as far as like how you prepare for it and how you execute and that sort of stuff. But do you miss that sort of, like, did you get nervous going on stage, and do you miss that sort of that excitement, I guess, before?
Yeah, I love it. I guess the biggest difference between stage and screen is theater. There's this instant gratification with the audience. And there's also just one shot, like every day is one take, and you do the whole thing from top to bottom. So in film and TV, everything's cut up but for convenience based on like the location, the actors you have, everything's usually out of sync. But the luxury of theater is that you just get to go through the whole journey from top to bottom. It also has a very luxurious rehearsal process, whereas in film and TV, you're often meeting those people, your scene partners, for the first time that day, the day that you record it. So there's kind of like a lot of pressure to get it right. Yeah, theater is great. I think the perfect process for acting or telling a story is probably somewhere in between. Even though I went to theater school, not really intending to pursue theater, I would definitely do it again in a heartbeat. It's just the best training, incredible discipline. It's the hardest thing you'll do as an actor is go to theater school. Everything after that is gravy. Like, it's awesome. So
you went to theater school to sort of like, hey, this is something I can do. I can gain the knowledge through theater school, and then I can kind of make the jump to movies and maybe television later on.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But I don't think it has to be that different acting wise. I do some acting coaching on the side. And most of the people that I work with are people coming from theater who want to make the transition to on screen. And they think that it's so difficult because, usually they play to like 900 seat theaters versus, when the camera's right here and your mic is right here. They're like, how do I scale my performance back? And really it's easy. Like if you were talking to like your sweetheart in bed, you know exactly the type of volume to use. And if you were yelling to your friend across like a field, you know how to fill that space too. And it's the same thing, except on a set, I think it's easier because you have everything around you that looks exactly how it's supposed to look. Whereas in theater, you kind of have to play make believe a bit more,
improvise a bit more, and yeah. So the kind of the performance sort of, you have to kind of exaggerate the performance, and not in a bad way, but just to make people feel that they're in this different setting. They're not just in a room with a bunch of other people, right? Whereas movies they have the luxury of just kind of, you set all that stuff up before you even see people on the screen, right?
Yeah, it's just about the size of the energy and the performance. It should still feel real, but in a technical sense, like that guy's not going to hear you. And some of your gestures can be a bit more exaggerated, but for the most part, I don't think the jump has to be as big of a leap as it is. But just a lot of people in the theater, they don't do that crossover as easily.
Gotcha. Well, speaking of crossovers, and we're obviously going to talk more about Peppergrass, and you guys coming on board with Black Fawn Distro. You've got the world premiere this Friday, on November 19th at the Royal as part of the Blood in the Snow Film Festival. Oh, by the way, I should just say I'm wearing my Black Blood in the Snow T-shirt. I have to do that on air because Kelly Michael Stewart gives me a free bag of popcorn if I do that. So. But let's before we jump into that, let's take some questions from our audience. We've got some good ones in here too. So and I think you'll want to talk about this too. So John McIsaac just pops in here. He just said Black Summer was one of my favorite shows. What was it like to be on the set and being a part of such an aggressive show?
Aggressive, I like that. Yeah, I guess it is aggressive. Are you talking about how the zombies sprint full speed? Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad you like the show. It was amazing. It was quite a journey even getting on the show because the audition process was really chill. Apparently all the women got the exact same set of lines. And so casting directors would just watch it. And then based on all the characters they had in mind, they would kind of just be like, this person feels like this person feels like that. And so when I was cast, I didn't know what my character was at all. Later on, John Hyams, the director, told me that it was actually written for two middle-aged white sisters. And it ended up being me and Elaine Yang, who are, late 20s, early 30s Asian women. So that was incredible. And, typically I don't really get to play with other women in my group, in my category, or my, what do you call it? Demographic, I guess. It's usually like, okay, there's an Asian woman on the show. She's the only one. And on the first day on set, I walked into the makeup trailer and there were 4 other Asian women being processed, like 2 stunt doubles, Christine Lee, who is the lead from season 1, who's also in season 2, Elaine, Linda Key. It was really incredible. It was so diverse. Everyone was really sweet. And the great thing about John is the script was never set in stone. Most days we didn't even follow it. So we would rehearse a bunch of times with the DP, and they'd be like, well, what do you feel like? Would you stand here? Would you stand here? And in fact, one of my castmates, who is Jesse Lipscomb, who played, oh my God, what's his character's name? In the script, they just called him Huge Guy. Oh, his name's Mance. His name is Mance in the show. He actually talked himself out of dying on the show. He was meant to die in episode 6. Yeah, we were supposed to drop a crate on him. And he's just such a hustler that he would talk to John and be like, hey, like, this is Mance's backstory. I think before the zombie apocalypse hit, he did this, he did that. And he literally talked himself all the way to the end. And I don't know if you've seen it, but it's really unbelievable. I did
hire that guy.
But I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know I could have lived, like, to talk my way into. Anyways, I said too much. Jesus. Black Summer was great.
Fair enough.
Was really great.
Couple other quick comments here. Somebody else piping in here saying I enjoy Black Summer as well. That's great. I'm gonna guess this is a friend of yours. But says congrats, my dear Chantelle.
Oh,
you've gone a long way. So proud of you. Heart face.
Connie. Wow, nice to see you.
And
so happy you're here.
And then a quick question from our friends of the show, OHFP, is does acting and directing affect the way you approach a role? And I guess, are you into the technical sides of directing at all, or is it more of just like more focused on the performance. So, for Peppergrass, you were co-directing with Steven, but also, as you posted a lot of the photos that you posted on that we posted today on our Instagram, you're in the cold, you're in the leaves, you're in the dirt, you're like, it's not like you're not sitting in the chair, so to speak. You're in front of the camera as well as behind it, right?
Yeah. Thank you, OHFP. Acting and directing affect the way you approach a role. Absolutely. I think ever since I started directing, it's informed my acting so much. It's made me a much better actor because I know what it's like to be sitting on that side of the table. And there's just a synergy to it, because now when I direct and I'm talking to other actors, I know the kind of things that actors want to hear, or like the language they use. So that's been super helpful. And I'm so glad that I do both. I think it makes me stronger at each. The technical side is definitely one that I'm much weaker at, because I'm coming into directing as an actor. So that relationship between story and its portrayal through humans is the one that I'm much stronger speaking to. If you want to talk about equipment and running a tech rehearsal in theater, that's really where I need help. But thankfully, you just hire people who are really good and understand what you want and try and translate it for you. So in this case with Peppergrass, Steven was absolutely the lead on the technical side, whereas I was more about feelings and emotions.
But that's a good combination to have, right? It's almost like, you're different sides of the same coin, and that equation kind of helps push everything over the finish line, right? Because you've got two people sort of paying attention to different aspects of the film, and as long as it can be brought together, seems to be like a pretty good way to go.
So far, so good. Hopefully we do another one together.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks for the questions. Keep them coming. We'll try and get to a few more by the end of the broadcast for sure. But again, please make sure you follow us on Instagram. You can follow us at Black Fawn Distro, and obviously you can follow Chantelle at Peppergrass Film as well. That's the official Instagram of the Peppergrass Film. Of the Peppergrass Film. That's what I meant to say. So let's I wanted to talk to you a little because you brought something up with Black Summer, and I know that when we were chatting before we kind of came on the air, you were mentioning that you just had the world premiere of the film at Nightmares Film Festival, which is in Columbus, Ohio. You guys took home a couple of awards down there, so you brought back some hardware to Canada, which is always nice, right? Something for the old trophy case. But you tell us about that experience of what it was like to go down, and also you participated in their panel for a social progress through horror, which is I don't know if I know you wanted to kind of chat about that. So what could you tell us about that, and how was the experience down in Columbus?
Going to Columbus was great. It's a weird time to be traveling, obviously. So a lot of work went into just logistically us getting down there. And once we were there, we're like, wow, hopefully we make it count. And they were so wonderful. It was such a warm reception. Horror people are the nicest people on earth. Yeah. They're so sweet. I was really blown away. And yeah, we were nominated for 4 awards: Best Lead Performance, Supporting for Charlie, Best Directing, and Thriller Feature. We took home Best Lead Performance, as well as like a 5th award that was not nominated, but it was just for Best Overall Feature, and we got to take that home. So it was amazing, and it was followed by the screening of our film, which is the first time any of us had seen it on the big screen. So it was a really big night. Yeah, everyone was so great, and I love that they have that conversation every year. I mean, it's my first time there, but apparently they have this social progress through change, or social change through horror panel every year, and I was really honored to be a part of it. It's interesting to see where folks are in that conversation across industries and based on the roles that each person played. So me, I was wearing a few hats as an actor, director, and producer, but there were the producers, there was a screenwriter, directors, and how can we approach that social progress through each of our lanes while pursuing horror filmmaking or any filmmaking for that matter?
Is there, and I'd like to talk to you about a little bit about that too, because I think that it's such a topical thing right now to discuss, but also I just think, I mean, what else needs to be done? I know that there's like that we just need more. We need more stories, need more voices at the table. But is there anything like specific? I think that's pretty obvious for right now. But and how do you see things? Do you see, I mean, progress in those areas?
I do. I think I'm living proof of that. Part of what made me wanted to be a director was having more power and more agency to bolster other people who don't have those opportunities. And it's good you asked that, like, what can we do specifically? Because a lot of times those panels just become this place where we like talk about ideas. But really, I mean, we got this really great question from someone, and she said, look, I have this dilemma. Like, what if you have to cast someone? You want diversity, but you also have someone with experience who's not, you know, a diverse choice. Like, what do I do? Like, I care about this, but I also want the best project. Right. And it's a tricky one, right? For me, I think you kind of have to go with where can you afford to give someone a shot? Because there's a reason why some people who are more experienced look a certain way and some people who aren't don't. There's like this systemic cycle that keeps happening. And if we just keep giving the experienced person more opportunities, they're going to keep getting better and the other people aren't. So any opportunity we can take to break that cycle, we should. It's tricky, right? Because you do want the best person for the job. So a good example would be, I'm directing a play in the spring and I have to hire a bunch of designers. And I got really great advice from a friend. And she said that you want someone really experienced in sound and lighting, because those are the people who are going to be doing tech rehearsals with you on the headset. And if they have a shorthand and they know what they're doing, your rehearsal is going to fly. You'll save a bunch of time. But where you can afford to have someone new on board is set and costume. So that's what I did. I wanted to give some emerging artists a chance in set and costume, and then get some veterans on lighting and sound. So if there are ways you can do it, you should, because that's the question. Like, why do these things keep happening, and what can we do to kind of break that cycle? And
it's so funny because it's, you know, the pushback on this too is like, I think you just hit the nail on the head there too, which is like, how do you choose between, you know, you want the best person for the job, but you do also, like you said, you want to create opportunities for other people as well. And that's the same thing, exactly the same argument when kids come out of college or university and they can't get a job because they don't have an experience. And how are you supposed to get experience if you can't get a job? And it's like this chicken and the egg thing that keeps happening. But yeah, realistically, what you know, I think is more true than not is that you give people the opportunity to kind of prove themselves, and if they knock it out of the park, then they do get that experience, and then they can get another job or another you know, acting gig or whatever gig after the fact. And it seems to me that that's kind of the same thing. I mean, I know it's different. I don't want to trivialize it, of course, but just giving people the opportunity to prove themselves, and if they have a couple of kicks that they might be able to do something really, really great, and then they're an established person in the industry, right?
Yeah, I think we can all think of personal examples where someone gave us a break or gave us an opportunity. You know, like me directing my first on-screen project. Like I've directed theater before, but this is such a huge difference, especially on the technical side, like someone mentioned. And maybe we can be that to someone else, you know? Yeah.
Right.
It's a really tricky thing to talk about, because you only get better when you have those opportunities, and they're so scarce anyways, working in the arts, but it's really important. And as just an actor, I'm an interpretive artist. So I see a script, I give my interpretation of that. And there's only so much I can do and so much power that I have. But if I'm working the roles of producer or director, I might have some more agency and a bit more weight to throw around.
Gotcha. And as well, I mean, we sort of chatted about this too, right? Is just from a story perspective, like you mentioned yourself being sort of more tied to the emotional impact of characters and that sort of stuff while you're directing. But just the fact that people get the opportunity to show a film or an idea, whether it's a thriller or horror or any other genre, through a different lens. And I've said this on the program before, like I'm interested as a film fan to see what those perspectives are. I mean, I've seen, however many movies directed by, a bunch of white dudes and stuff. And it's like not that I'm going to stop watching movies. It doesn't matter who they're directed by. Like a good movie is a good movie is a good movie. But I do like the idea of watching new movies that are unpredictable, that I don't really know what's going to happen. And especially right now, when you go to the movie theater, you kind of have a sense as to, there's not a lot of blockbusters that are very surprising anymore. And I think that I'm interested to see new voices or new people sitting in those spots that can kind of put their own spin on things that'll make it a little bit more entertaining. And I think in the genre and horror community, I think it seems like everything starts in that community. And like you mentioned, like people are pretty responsive and pretty supportive of that stuff too, right?
Yeah. And I think what you said is exactly that. If you do care about social progress through horror or anything, it starts with you as an individual. So we all know that we vote with our wallets. And if you care about that kind of thing,
that's right,
you're going out and seeing those movies by other people, seeking out those stories that are lesser told. And I think that's how the snowball kind of begins.
And if they're successful, those people will get an opportunity to make something else and a third
That's
thing
right.
and a fourth thing and a fifth thing. So,
but at the same
right.
time, I think folks should also have the space and grace to make mistakes.
Sure.
So if there's someone who gets a shot because it's their first time or they're not as experienced and they maybe don't do the best job, they're just like canceled forever. But some
Right.
people, for some reason, we give them time after time, chance after chance. And if we're going to give that to some people, we should be able to give it to everybody or not. It's
funny. I think
I should be able to screw up too.
100%. And I think that's something that's kind of tied to just how movies are being made right now in general. And what I mean by that is that I just heard an interview actually. So my friend Derek, who he has a podcast called The Walk Show. He just had a guest on, and they were talking about, how in the 70s, lots of people were kind of trying all kinds of stuff. And kind of, some of it was like, let's just throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and see what sticks. But also a lot of happy accidents of people taking chances, people taking risks on things, and awesome stuff coming out of that experience. Not all the time, but I feel like I look back on a lot of movies from the 70s, maybe early 80s, and I don't even know if they would get made now, just because, and not because of the content, but just because of, what the story is, who you have attached to the project. Is it going to make $1 billion globally? Probably not. Mm-hmm. So it's challenging, right, for these studios. And I know that there was a lot of talk recently about that, the fact that big blockbusters are taking up so many spots in theaters that it actually doesn't provide an avenue or an arena for smaller type films to get put in those theaters so people can check them out. I think the only time you really saw that recently in the last like 3 or 4 years was probably last year, when there wasn't those big blockbuster movies coming out and you had smaller indie films kind of like filling up those little theaters and making an impact, right?
Yeah, totally. I think Hollywood's so risk averse. That's why we have so many Marvel movies getting pumped out and franchises and sequels and all of those things. But that's exactly how the same people get used and seen over and over again. The room's just getting smaller and smaller. That's why these festivals are so important, and distributors like you guys, because otherwise, how else are we supposed to get those stories out there?
Well, look, anyone listening right now, if you can make it down to Toronto and check out Peppergrass at Blood in the Snow Film Festival this Friday, November 19th at 8:30 p.m. 9:30 p.m. Sorry. And tickets are available online. You can get them at bloodinthesnow.ca. And definitely come down and check out the Canadian premiere of this film. Like I just mentioned, world premiere was in Columbus, Ohio. Canadian premiere is in Toronto, Ontario. So make sure you come down and check it out. So Chantelle, listen, there is a spot in the show which we call our rapid fire section. I don't know if you know about this or not, but basically it's a rapid fire question and Q&A. But it's brought to us by our sponsor, which is Wellington Brewery's Hellas Lager. They basically sponsor us. I reach back here every show take one of these off the thing because this is kind of my halftime. So I'm just going to crack one of these open like that and take. Delicious. But some rapid fire Q&A questions. We like to put you, we're kicking you out of the director's chair. We're putting you on the onto the interview chair, the hot seat, whatever you want to call it. But Wellington Breweries, they sponsor us year round, and you can check them out at their Guelph retail brewery store, located in Guelph, of course, or pick up some cans wherever you buy your adult beverages. But Chantelle, are you ready to do this? Are you game?
I'm not ready, but I think that's the point. Let's do it.
Okay. We're going to try and get a crazy theme song. I want like this crazy alarm to go off, I think, in this segment of the show, just to catch our guests by surprise. So you're lucky. You don't have to go through that. But okay. So here we go. Rapid fire questions. Yes or no. Would you shoot another film outside in the cold during a lockdown, during a pandemic?
Yes.
Okay. Moving right along, you got to pick one. Okay, so you get to pick either Grant Cooper or Stephen Garbus to sit beside during a 21-hour flight. Who are you picking and why?
Wow. Oh my! How dare you? I don't know where you'd be flying to. Irwin.
Okay.
I'll sit with Phil. Neither of them.
Neither.
He also came with us to Columbus, and he's hilarious and funny and so are Grant Stephen. But I can't choose between them. They're both my guys.
Okay.
You wanted me to, but I'm not going to.
You got to pick one. But okay. Well, you know what? Your first time on the program, we'll let it slide this time.
Thank you.
But moving right along, rapid fire, help us out. You mentioned that Tia Carrera was the inspiration for you to get into acting, but do you have a favorite Wayne's World quote? And if so, what is it?
Oh my God. Oh, Schwing.
Okay. All right. So rapid fire, what do you want? If you could pick one film that you could have a sequel made for it, which film would you pick?
Oh.
So any film that you've seen that you really love, like personally, which is there a movie out there you'd love to see a sequel made?
One of my favorite movies is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I'd like to see what happens to them.
Okay, fair enough. And rapid fire, tell us more. What type of project have you not worked on in the past that you'd like to work on in the future?
Ooh, I want to work on a gangster movie.
A gangster movie? Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. And you've never worked on one of those before?
No.
No.
Are you surprised because I'm Asian? You think I'm in an Asian gang? Well,
no, I'm just
that's
asking.
Exactly what I want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, people always have more fun playing bad guys, right?
Always.
Yeah.
You know why? Because sorry, I don't want to interrupt the rapid fire rhythm. Let's go.
No, you're done. You're done. That's it. It's 5 questions.
Oh, I'm done?
Yeah, rapid fire, just like that. We can go back to question 2 if you'd like. If you want to think about it some more.
2? Oh, no.
No, pass.
No. Pass.
Alrighty.
Hard pass.
So listen, we're going to jump into a couple more questions of Chantelle. If you've got questions or some thoughts, just want to throw out a comment, throw them down in the comment section below. If you're listening on live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or Twitter. And of course, you won't be able to do that if you're catching us on one of our retransmissions on Apple's podcasts or Spotify. But please tune into the next Takeover Tuesday and let your voice be heard. But if you got a question for Chantelle, please leave it in the comments. We'll get to it. We're going to take a quick, tiny little break just because I got to pay some bills here. And then what we'll do is we'll get back to some questions with Chantelle right after this.
Black Fawn Distro. Movies, merchandise, available now at blackfawndistribution.com.
All right, and that's just our quick 30-second spot that we got to use to pump our own
Who
product.
does your voiceover for that?
Not telling. I don't know him.
Distro. It's pretty good.
Yeah, thanks. Movie magic, you know? Like we do what we can here in the studio. But Liz, I just want to give a quick shout out to tonight's music. We had a lot of help actually putting some extra production value on the show before we relaunched. And obviously, as I mentioned before, the opening track was provided by Derek Prince Cox. You can check him out at facebook.com/The Walk Show or at The Walk Show on Instagram. Ben Living actually produced the beats for our new segment, which I love, by the way. So you can check him out at benlivingmusic.com or at Ben Living on Instagram. And Fox Grinder produced or provided the track for our 30-second spot too. So big shout out to them. You can catch them at foxgrinder.bandcamp.com as well as at foxgrinder. It's a weird spelling. I'm going to spell it out for you. It's at FOXGRNDR. Check them out on Instagram. Give them a follow. They're all independent artists fighting the good fight and doing some really cool work for us. We love them all to death, and we appreciate their contributions to the program. So the least we can do is give them a shout out here on the show. But let's get back to it. We've got I wanted to talk to you about a couple of things that you had mentioned off air, and one of them was that Peppergrass wasn't the only film shoot that you've been on recently. There was another film shoot that you were on for, I would say, maybe one of the most highly anticipated films of the year. I'm going to throw it to you. What can you tell us about that?
Not very much. In fact, I don't even know if my bit made it into the movie. I'm going to find out with the rest of you people on it's the same time as our premiere, but I think I'll try and watch it on the weekend. It's Ghostbusters Afterlife. So it actually shot in Calgary, where I'm from. And I'm in it for a very short amount of time if I made it in. But you can't miss me. If I made it, you will definitely see me. Okay, but it was awesome. A really wonderful experience. Yeah, it was fun.
So was the whole movie shot in Calgary, or most of it?
Pretty much around, yeah, in and around Calgary. Not necessarily the city. There's a small town called Crossfield just north of Calgary where I think they shot a lot of the town stuff. And, they were in like cornfields and stuff. I'm not sure. They only had me on for 2 days.
Well, it's still super awesome. I mean, was Ghostbusters a part of your childhood growing up at all?
It was.
I just remember being a kid and every kid knew that song, right? Like the Ghostbusters theme song, but it was that was the song. Like you couldn't, it's probably it's probably the catchiest song ever written. It's up there for sure. It's at least in the top 10 because
definitely
you just couldn't, I remember being a kid and just dancing around and to that track because it was just like this, whatever I was doing, whenever it was doing as a 6 or 7 year old, I can't remember, but I'd imagine it's something stupid like that. I'm so glad that people are only listening to this on the repeat and not watching it because you guys just missed that little dance off there. So
a little jig. My friend's dad thought it was, who are you going to call those bastards? So he didn't like Ghostbusters because that's what he thought they said.
so the restricted version, I guess.
Yeah.
Listen, let's talk about what you have. You've got a lot of stuff going on. This is the Peppergrass is done. Lots of work went into it. It's nice to kind of you're not quite done with the project, but the hard work at least is sort of the film's finished. But what do you have coming up next? Do you have you mentioned that you're directing a play in the spring, but do you have any other projects on the horizon that people should be on the lookout for?
Yeah, I am currently on a beloved, long-running Canadian mystery series. So we're filming that right now. I'm on an episode of that. I don't know if I can say what it is, but I don't think it's that hard to figure out. It's on CBC. And I'm filming a commercial right now that's going to go national. So you may see me representing an online financial institution. Yeah, I'll be in Calgary directing a show at Lunchbox Theatre. And, hopefully Stephen and Grant, we've got something coming down the pike soon in the next year. But, all of that's in the works.
Just flipping back to the show you mentioned, we don't have to name it, but is that the same show that you were mentioning that we have a mutual friend that plays your dad on it, or am I thinking of something totally different?
That is the same show.
Oh, do you want to talk about that at all, or no? Because I think it's kind of fun.
Yeah. So Sean Beck, who's also in Vicious Fun,
right?
Also represented by Black Fawn, playing at BITS Blood in the Snow Festival this week. I first met him working on Kim's Convenience at the play. He was our fight director. And Sean, I guess he's like a Hapkido master, because that's kind of what we were doing. We were doing some joint locks on the play. And I found out that he was on the show when I was on the phone with the director. And I was like, oh my God, Sean, amazing. Who does he play? My brother? And she laughed. She was like, no, he plays your dad, which is wild because Sean looks, he's maybe 12 years older than me. Well, he's not that much older than me. And you know him, you've met him. Like he looks,
he's the nicest.
He's perfectly preserved. And he's playing my dad. And when I first saw him on set, I was like, oh, or like he's going to the makeup trailer. I thought they were going to like add white streaks to his hair, but he looks exactly the same. And somehow he's my father, but Asian don't raisin is what they say.
Well, we obviously our sister company Black Fawn Films work with Sean on Vicious Fun. I've actually worked with him on another couple of projects just from a press kind of marketing type of point of view. He's like the nicest guy on the planet. So that's totally. I just thought that was funny when you talk, because I just heard an interview with I think I mentioned this to you just heard an interview with Dune about Oscar Isaac being Timothée Chalamet's dad, and how they're like closer to the age than they appear to be, right? So
right.
But anyway, well, listen, I think we'll leave it there. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but thanks so much for joining us tonight. I know there's a lot of stuff going on this week, so I don't want to monopolize your time, of course. But thanks again for joining us, and for Peppergrass, all the success. Obviously, you've signed on with Black Fawn Distro, so you're part of the Black Fawn family now anyway. But the film premieres, has its Canadian premiere at Blood in the Snow Film Festival on this Friday at 9:30 p.m. Tickets are available online. There are only a few left. I believe it's 80%, probably more so, sold out right now. And you can check those out or pick them up at bloodinthesnow.ca. Of course, lots of other great films playing throughout the week and over the course of the weekend, as well as the awesome, fantastic shorts program that Kelly and his programming team put together every year. It's definitely worth checking out. And again, you're going to be going down to the Royal. You're supporting an independent theater, which is it's got some of the best sound in the city of Toronto in a movie theater. Check that place out, and you'll be supporting that business as well as the film festival, as well as independent artists and filmmakers as well. So if you need to reach out to us, please let us know. Drop us a line at takeover@blackfawndistribution.com. And if you've got a project that's coming out, or if you got something else like a physical release you wanted us to check out, maybe we can do a thing on it. Just give me a shout, let me know. And of course, remember to follow Chantelle Han on Instagram, Peppergrass Film, along with us, Black Fawn Distro at Black Fawn Distro. So Chantelle, thanks again for joining us. Really appreciate you stopping by, and wish you all the best on Friday. And hopefully we'll get to do this again soon, and we'll try and come up with some more rapid fire questions to put you on the spot.
Oh God, thank you so much for having me, and I hope to see you in person very soon.
Sounds good. Talk to you soon.
Bye, Venner.
And that does it for another episode of Black Fawn Distro's Takeover Tuesday. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, please remember to like, follow, share, and subscribe, and help us spread the word about the program and our incredible guests. If you're interested in grabbing some more information about Black Fawn Distribution, or want to check out our film titles and merchandise, you can find us online at blackfawndistribution.com. We'd also like to thank our sponsors: Wellington Brewery's Hellas Lager, Deadly Grounds Coffee, Twisted Teas, and of course, Black Fawn Distribution. Just a reminder, you can always catch Black Fawn Distro's Takeover Tuesday live on Facebook, YouTube, and our other social media platforms. Or pick up one of our retransmissions on any of the major streaming platforms. Until next time, I'm your host Benner from Black Fawn Distro, and we'll see you soon.